So much has been said recently about the triangle between the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, as well as the conjunction between Saturn and Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Um, and and today I want to talk actually about the sextile between Saturn and Uranus because it's part of this triangle, this configuration. But of course, within that configuration, each pair of planets are going to have their own relationship, their own dynamic, and something it's representing and indicating that's going on in the dynamics in the collective and for each of us personally, depending where it falls in our chart. So for Uranus and Saturn, this is very interesting. I'm looking at it today in the collective way. Saturn always makes things real, right? It always brings things into the reality that we can touch. It brings things down to earth that we can see, we can feel, and we can live, rather than just a dream out there. Of course, just as a background, so Neptune and Saturn being dancing with each other, approaching this conjunction, is we've been talking about this making the dream real, right? A lot of things are being manifest right now that have heretofore only been dreams for human beings. Things that we maybe thought were impossible, but they are becoming possible. I'm going to put out another video about how the mechanism by which that's happening. But I want to talk today about how Saturn, while it's making things real, is doing something very interesting. It's helping us restore our inner weirdness. Weirdness, Uranus. I'm using the word weirdness very intentionally. Really, it's about uniqueness. The actual natural nature of human beings is that we're each very, very unique. Yes, we're one, Neptune, ocean of oneness, and within that, each of us is a unique expression of source energy, right? Of whatever you want to call it, the great creator, the divine, all that is. But we're, absolutely unique. No one in the world has exactly the same expression, right? Exactly the same that we do. Not only the chart, but, compounding that or combining that with our past lives and our entire journey creates, a completely unique individual with each of us. And from the lens of the kind of mainstream way of looking at things and the conditioned mind, right? The way that the mind has been conditioned, we are each actually very weird. And we're taught that to be weird is dangerous, actually, because to not fit in is dangerous, right? If it's not dangerous physically to us, it can be dangerous socially, right? That we can be outcast, or we can just, people might kind of like just keep their distance or look the other way, or, politely say something, to get off the hook and then go somewhere else to talk to someone else. And of course, we know that being social beings, being socially outcast is basically, as painful as death, or actually a lot more painful. But pain and death, that's another topic. But so with Uranus in Saturn, and the Saturn-Uranus sextile, the thing is, coming into the age of Aquarius, we're actually recovering from this system that was very top-down, that wanted everyone to be a cookie cutter, right? And used conditioning to make everyone into, a homogenized kind of, you have to talk like this, you have to relate to other people like this, you have to put your hands like this at the table, you have to, have these same dreams. I remember Ra Uruhu, I think his name is, Uhuru or Uru, the guy who, channeled human design, he said, isn't it funny, in one of his lectures, isn't it funny that everyone has the same dream? Isn't it funny? And yeah, just think about that for a moment. We've all been conditioned to have the same dream, one timeline of life that looks, pretty much homogenized. That's not the truth of who we are. That's been imposed, and now all of that is cracking. It's in the midst of cracking as we speak. It's really going through its convulsions of, no more, we're not gonna live like this anymore. Pam Gregory, who's fantastic, please watch her, she's an incredible astrologer. She talks about two timelines right now going on, the timeline of fear and the timeline of love. So some human beings are on the timeline of fear, really caught up in the news, in the, what's happening out there, and allowing their mind to be really, really, made into upheaval and chaos, brought into upheaval and chaos by, all the stories that are told out there about what's going on out there. And that creates, just more and more chaos, more and more fear, of course. Also, at the same time, there are human beings, a growing number of human beings on the timeline of love. She calls it, and I love the languages she uses. The timeline of love is really where we're actually realizing what's important, and that what's important is actually really simple. It's it's more and more simple. It's reduced to more and more simplicity, and it's really our connection with ourselves, our connection with source, higher power, divinity, within ourselves, our connection, whatever you want to call it, our connection with our creativity, which is our connection with source, and our connection with each other, of course, living in love, and sharing love, celebrating love, just being in love, and the simple things of life, just chopping wood, carrying water. These are replete with joy when we do them from a place of wholeness, centeredness, and of course just being love, which is what we are. So those who are on the timeline of fear may not be experiencing the restoration of weirdness, but if you're on the timeline of love, and if you're watching this video and it's still interesting for you, you've gotten this far, I'm guessing you probably are on the timeline of love, or really approaching it, then you're likely where I feel we're all experiencing a restoration of our inner weirdness, which is to say our inner uniqueness. So what does that mean? That means that all the ways that we've been told, you have to act like this, like I was saying, you have to want this kind of partner, or you have to, be married by this certain age, or you have to have this kind of a career in order to please someone else, or in order to fit in, whatever. You have to dress like this. These are all falling away so that we can be more free to be who we really, really are. And who we really are is, very, very eclectic. And you might find about yourself that you've been wearing, a certain kind of clothing for your whole life, not because it's what you really, really love and what you really feel comfortable in, what lights you up, what makes you feel just, alive when you're walking through this life, but that you're wearing it because, you want to fit in a certain amount, or your mom or your dad said, kind of approves of you when you look this way, or you think that you're more likely to find a mate if you look that way, or whatever, right? It's just, this is one example of the clothing we wear, which is actually really essential because it's expressing who we are. And you might find that, you don't want to do that anymore, and you're more kind of experimenting. What do I really like? Also how you spend your time, your hobbies, do you know how you like to spend your time? Do you know what your hobbies are? This is life. You're alive right now. We are alive, and this is the time we've been given. Are we doing with it what really lights us up? Or are we living someone else's, conditioning for us, someone else's agenda for us? So, you know, in my opinion, in my experience, life is a lot more fun when we're all coming from our inner weirdness. Weirdness, really just our inner uniqueness. And when we shed all these masks, and we can really relate to each other from authentic self to authentic self. Authenticity is another major Uranus word. And of course, Uranus right now is at the end of Taurus, and Taurus is about unconditional love. So really what this is about is, can we just unconditionally love each other? Can we return to unconditionally loving each other? Return, or move forward, however we want to look at it. But can we come home to a place of unconditionally loving each other for our authentic selves without needing any mask?